Carl Jackson Show podcast on this Good Friday. Again, this is your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. A few things that I want to get to today. I wanted to make sure that I connected with you today. Obviously, again, it is Good Friday, but there's some stories that I do want to bring to your attention. There's this phenomenon that has been occurring, violent phenomenon that's been occurring, or is it phenomena? Is it? I don't know why I'm having a brain fart right now. Phenomena or phenomenon, Gabe? Anyway. So there has been a rash of women that have been attacked in the city of New York. It's basically been like this, kind of like the knockout game. I don't know who's doing it. I don't know if it's just hoodlums or people that are mentally ill. I don't know if it's just, sadly, disrespectful young kids, illegal aliens. I don't know who's involved in this, but there's been a rash of women that have been punched in their face, sucker punched in their face. And frankly, they're women. I mean, whether they're sucker punched, whether they're someone hits them on the street, just absolutely insane. If you want to know how far a culture has sank, just imagine not just a knockout game. I mean, you're targeting women. It's just absolutely disgusting. So I want to show you a video, and I got to be honest with you guys. I have a weak stomach. All right, I am a wimp when it comes to some of these violent videos. There's been some people that have asked, Carl, why are you sharing these? Why have you? And guys, I'm having to fight my own nature because I'm such a wimp when it comes to watching videos of people being injured. But when people are being injured intentionally, violently, I do think it's important for you to see it, because I think you need to understand the depths of depravity that we live in Biden's America today. And I do think that you need to be alert and you need to be aware so that it doesn't happen to you. So we'll talk about that a little more. I'll show you some video of a lady that had to have her jaw wired shut because some people are calling these people monsters. Guys, they're not monsters. I understand why people use the term monsters, because you're trying to sit there and you're trying to think of the harshest words or the harshest word that you can imagine to say, man, this is just unhuman. This isn't what we do. But the fact of the matter is, without God, people are just evil. When there's no God, when there's no rule of law, people are just evil, and people will cave to their own depraved minds. And that's what you're seeing, sadly, in some of these big cities, some of these major cities across the United States of America that have literally been unleashed with violent crime and lawlessness and godlessness, you name it. Also, one thing that I want to get to, and it was big news yesterday, and it remains to be in the news today, and that is the difference of seeing both Donald Trump and former President Donald Trump and Biden both traveling to New York on the very same day. And you have the juxtaposition of Donald Trump attending the wake for slain Officer Jonathan Diller, as opposed to Joe Biden. And I should have gotten footage of that, Gabe. I wasn't even thinking. As opposed to Joe Biden sitting in this lavish fundraiser where people are, literally $100,000, $500,000 donations going to this guy. Apparently, they raised $26 million. Now, that money isn't going to help his poll numbers, but that money is going to help get out the vote efforts. And that is something that we do have to be aware of. Remember that as elections draw closer, they tend to tighten. Speaking of general elections, that wasn't true with the primary, but I suspect that'll be true with the general. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. Another thing that I want to do, and something that we're going to try to be consistent with, and what I want to introduce to this podcast, is Fake Racism Friday. Okay, so what we'll do is bring you a story, to maybe more, sometimes maybe just one, and focus on it. And what I want to start doing is exposing, or not exposing isn't the right word, but showing the difference or illustrating the difference between real racism, fake racism, and perceived racism. I think as long as the left are able to use identity politics, whether it's related to biological sex, whether it's related to skin color, they will have the upper hand on playing the victim card and getting voters to vote for them out of sheer, for reasons of virtue signaling. And so I want to put an end to that. I hate identity politics. Guys, forgive me. I'm in my home studio having some work done. Forgive me if you hear my dogs going crazy, going crazy in the background. I'm hearing them. I hope you don't hear them. But nonetheless, if you hear them, just understand it's okay. The police aren't chasing me just because I know Gabe and sicking their dogs on me. I typically wouldn't recommend that you hang around with people like Gabe, though. So those are the things that we'll be talking about. You are listening to the Carl Jackson Show. I just want to quickly remind you to make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast. We're on Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble. All right. So make sure if you're on YouTube and Rumble, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. We would certainly appreciate that. That'll help us to move up the ladders. And also, this show is brought to you by mypillow.com. You guys all know that Mike Lindell has a passion to help you get the best sleep of your life. He's been under attack by the mainstream media. There's no doubt about it. They've done everything they can to bankrupt him. And listen, guys, here's what I like. Mike Lindell offers great products at mypillow.com. And he's got a deal right now that I'm getting ready to share with you. But you get an opportunity not only to buy products that are American made and support American jobs, but that products that are good products, again, that are American made and that are going to help give you a good night's rest. So right now, after he invented the world's best pillow, he's also invented these creative or these famous Giza Dream Sheets. Excuse me, they're the best sheets you're ever going to sleep on. So for a limited time, right now, you get a queen size set for $59.98. Add $10 for the king size set. Those are the lowest prices in history. Mike and the My Pillow team continue to be canceled by these big box stores that have absolutely gone woke. And they've been attacked by the media, and literally they are trying to bankrupt this guy. Anybody that happens to be a conservative, if you're a business owner, if you're a Trump supporter, they're coming after you. I mean, they're coming after all of us, frankly. All right. So, but they've gone after him and they've done a doozy. But if you're going to buy products related to sleep products or anything that mypillow.com or Mike has on that website, please check it out. Use mypillow.com, promo code Carl, C-A-R-L. I don't spell it like the communist. Or you can give them a call at 800-858-0263. All right, guys. So I just wanted to make sure that I came on air today. I want to bring you some of this news and also just give you my take on these videos. The fake Racism Friday videos are going to be videos that are related to, actually, it's Joy Reid of MSNBC, and she's talking about the cargo ship that crashed into the to the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Is that right? Man, I forget. All right, they crashed into the bridge in Baltimore. I don't know why my brain is just out of it this morning. Francis Scott Key, for goodness sakes. All right, so they crashed into that bridge, all right, and tore it down. And for some reason, the people that are criticizing and asking questions as to whether or not was it a terrorist attack? Was it just somebody that didn't know what they were doing? I mean, was it pilot's error, so to speak? Joy Reid found a way to find racism in that. She also interviews the mayor of Baltimore on her program. He figures out a way to make a racial issue out of all of that and to call out white people as a result of it. It's absolutely phenomenal. But all you need to know is that with Joy Reid, she's probably going to be in a lot of clips on Fake Racism Friday, because Joy Reid is a puppet for the left. I mean, I know that's what the left thinks I am for the right, but Joy Reid is certainly a puppet for the left. And I mean that in all sincerity. I don't think she's bright. I don't think she's nice. I think she's a mean, vindictive, arrogant person. And I don't think she's bright at all. And I think she likes lording her position of power over people. And that's exactly what the left wants. Basically, what Joy Reid serves as is a, You can't attack this issue because you're racist. She's their attack dog, and she knows it. All right, but so we'll get to that. Fake Racism Friday, the star of Fake Racism Friday today will be Joy Reid. All right, Gabe, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get to the first video. This is a woman on the streets of New York, 57-year-old woman. And this isn't easy to watch. I have not enjoyed watching this video, but I want you women to be on the alert. Matter of fact, Gabe, we need a sponsor. Something we need to call. And listen, they don't sponsor this show, but we need to call Berna. I own a Berna launcher. You guys need to come on my program because I think women need to be armed with these things. And I mean that in all sincerity, at the very least. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and roll this video. Gabe, this is a lady, and this isn't for everybody, being sucker punched, 57 years old. And look how she stumbles. Thank God she recovers. But man, did they do some damage. Let's go ahead and roll it, Gabe.
It is a random, unprovoked, vicious attack on a 57-year-old woman in Brooklyn. Watch as the suspect ignores another man walking nearby, then punches the woman in her face, causing her to stumble backwards.
What happened? Why you hitting me? Why you hitting me? I was bleeding a lot. Well, I'm so scared, I'm so afraid.
Dulce Pichardo was on the receiving end of that punch. Her mouth now wired shut, her face fractured in several places, drinking food out of a straw for 6 weeks, permanent damage to her lower lip, 3 teeth knocked out, and she might need surgery. In this Eyewitness News exclusive, Pichardo says he didn't say a word, just stared at her, then broke her jaw.
He hit me very, very strong over here. And he broke everything here. Everything's break.
It happened yesterday around 5 p.m. on Grand Avenue near Dean Street. Pichardo was a school bus aide and was returning from work, just steps away from home when she was slugged. Her brother owns a restaurant across the street from where she lives. He and this employee chased the suspect down. Johan Flores says he was still standing there. When they confronted him, he denied attacking Pichardo, cold and emotionless. They followed him for several blocks and stopped him from fleeing until police arrived. Cops arrested 33-year-old Franz Judy. The suspect was charged with misdemeanor assault, meaning he's not bail eligible. He'll be released back onto the street. And that's the part that has the victim and her family frustrated and afraid.
Every time I see one man, I cross. I don't want to be close to nobody. I'm very afraid, yes. I turn my son everywhere I go. I want you to walk with me.
He's being charged with assault 3, not with a felony, because there's no intent. So therefore, he's being just charged with that. He has 7 prior arrests for assault charges, and he's out in the street.
In Crown Heights, Brooklyn, Stefan Kim, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Wait, where did they say that? Was that New York or was that Chicago? Did you catch that? All right, I believe that was, but I believe that was New York too. But you heard the victim's niece. The guy has been out charged with this 7 separate times, and he's out. Guys, unless there's law and order, you cannot have a civil society. I mean, it is really that simple. You cannot. The reason why this is what drives me nuts about illegal immigration. You can't claim that you want to come to the United States and do it for great opportunity and do it illegally because your first act is breaking or violating the law. And if America is going to remain a civil society, if the rule of law is going to remain or be restored, I should say, man, you got to take these crimes seriously. And honestly, I don't know if this person is an illegal alien. I don't know if this person is just mentally wacky or just your average street thug. I don't know. But I do know when I see a man hit a woman like that, I got to be honest with you. I think they need to be charged. I think they need to be charged with a felony. I was going to say attempted murder. I reeled myself back in because I think that is too far. I don't know that that's what that guy attempted to do. But if she had fallen, if she had stumbled and hit her head, then I think it should have been attempted murder. But certainly it should be a felony where this person, whomever he is, should not be on the street. And so, ladies, I mean, pay attention. I pay attention to who you vote for. Locally, you know, your city commissioners, your mayors, your sheriffs, You want people that are going to enforce the law. So you're not a lady walking down the street having to worry about getting punched in your face. Because unfortunately, I think we're raising up a society of men or boys that are not going to be men, that don't respect ladies, that don't respect the elderly, that don't respect one another. And I fear, especially in blue cities, that things are going to get even tougher. I mean, I'm so thankful. I am so thankful. I cannot express this enough. I'm so thankful that I live in the state of Florida, where we have, obviously a beautiful state, a state that many people want to come to. But more than that, it's a state where I don't believe my rights will be trampled on. It's a state where the governor, and I would say most mayors and city commissioners, take the rule of law seriously. Anyway, all right, let's move on to the next video. This video is Donald Trump, and again, I wish I had the video of Barack Obama and Joe Biden and Bill Clinton all up on stage with Stephen Colbert at this fancy fundraiser. Literally, I want to say it was, 15, 20, maybe 30-minute drive away from where the wake was held for slain officer Jonathan Diller. And apparently Joe Biden didn't even call the officer's family. And guys, I think a lot of people on the right, we don't want to admit to it. It's hard to believe where we stand, but a lot of people are frustrated about what Joe Biden did. But if you understand who we're dealing with now, we're dealing with the Democrat Communist Party. And when you consider that you're dealing with the Democrat Communist Party, it's a letdown, because Joe Biden did, if he's holding to the tenets of his new party, he did exactly what he's supposed to do. I mean, guys, this isn't my thought process. This isn't my words, but the left or communists, the BLMs of the world, the Antifas of the world, would have you believe that slain officer Jonathan Diller got exactly what he deserved. Now, you and I don't believe that, but that's what the left believes, and that's what many of Joe Biden's voters believes. Not all of them, to be fair, but enough of them, and the most vocal ones amongst them, that has Joe Biden scared, so scared to lose the 2024 election that he's willing to turn his back on our ally Israel, and he's willing to avoid even calling the widow of Officer Jonathan Diller, and just strictly going to this fundraiser. If that's not out of touch, if that's not communist, I don't know what is. That's the left don't care about police. I mean, they care about themselves being policed and guarded by security, but no one else. But now, having said that, Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump, this is one of the things that he's really good at, connecting with people. And I mean, he just feels people's pain, it seems to me, and he understands that. He reached out apparently to the widow, or reached out to the family of Jonathan Diller, and he was invited to come to the wake, and he showed up at the wake yesterday. Here's a video that we have of former President Donald Trump at the wake, saying that, you know what, guys, when it comes to the rule of law, I mean, we got to bring this back, right? We got to get this thing. We got to get this thing in check. He calls to a return to the rule of law, and he's absolutely right. So here's former President Donald Trump. Now, remember, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Bill Clinton at a fundraiser down the road, $26 million. It's politics. I understand people have to raise money for politics, but you're telling me the president of the United States with such a large story couldn't call that officer? He couldn't call that officer because I think he didn't want to offend his base. But here's Donald Trump.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. I want to thank Bruce and all of the people that have worked so hard to make this area beautiful and safe. And this is what happened. Is such a sad event, such a horrible thing, and it's happening all too often, and we're just not going to let it happen. We just can't. 21 times arrested, this thug, and The person in the car with him was arrested many times, and they don't learn because they don't respect. They're not given the respect. The police are the greatest people we have. There's nothing and there's nobody like them, and this should never happen. I just visited with a very beautiful wife that now doesn't have her husband. Stephanie was just incredible. Their child, brand new, beautiful baby, sitting there innocent as can be. Doesn't know how his life has been changed. But the Diller family you'll never be the same. You can never be the same. And we have to stop it. We have to stop it. We have to get back to law and order. We have to do a lot of things differently because this is not working. This is happening too often. It's an honor to be here. And again, I want to just thank all of you folks for allowing this. And Bruce, thank you. Bruce has been a friend of mine for a long time. He's done an incredible job out here. But this is such a sad occasion. The only thing we can say is maybe something is going to be learned. We've got to toughen it up. We've got to strengthen it up. This should never be allowed. Things like this shouldn't take place, and to take place so often. So thank you all for being here. It's an honor, and it's an honor for me to be here. This is a great family, the Diller family. I met the friends, and I met every one of them inside, and these are just incredible people that are just devastated. They're devastated. They've got a tough road. It's going to be a very tough road. So thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it.
And I think the right tone. I mean, I get annoyed when people say that. I think he struck the right tone, but I think Donald Trump did strike the right tone. I mean, it's like he knew his audience. He knew where he was at. And obviously, even politically speaking, again, when you look at Donald Trump attending the wake of Jonathan Diller, and it wasn't, I mean, again, he was invited there, juxtaposed to Joe Biden at a fundraiser down the road. It is a really bad look. And now, again, you and I really are concerned about that look. Communists aren't. They don't care. Joe Biden did the right thing as far as they are concerned. But here's where Joe Biden has to be concerned. For those people that the both Trump campaign is trying to reach out to in the middle, those suburban moms, those people that, suburban moms, one thing that they want to be is safe. And when you look at this video or you watch that video of Donald Trump, and if you and then you realize that Joe Biden, when he had an opportunity to comfort the family of slain Officer Jonathan Diller, and he chose not to, he chose to chill with the Wall Street big bosses, that might not set well. We can only hope anyway, right? All right. So now, in a sense, let me just say this too. That's what you see happening, or what happened with Officer Jonathan Diller. That's a result of fake racism. You realize that, right? That is, in my opinion, a result of the BLM Marxist lie that blacks are being hunted by cops, and this lie that George Floyd was some saint. I mean, Derek Chauvin is still sitting in jail. An innocent man is sitting in jail. He did not kill George Floyd. He used the tactics that he was trained to use to subdue a man that was on drugs. And then he had his superior officers lie on the stand because they were too afraid to be called racist and to have their names and their careers tarnished. So they let an innocent man go to jail instead of tell the truth. So all of this stuff is a result of fake racism. Jonathan Diller, when you teach groups of people, blacks, Latinos, minorities, that cops are out to hunt you down, as LeBron James once said, what do you think is going to be the result of that? Remember when we revered cops? Remember after 9/11, how much we revered cops? I felt like we rode that wave for the most part, even through Barack Obama's administration when he made some jabs. But it just got worse and worse and worse. And then we saw after the lockdowns of 2020, the left just went insane. They did everything they could to destroy this country. All right, now, last thing. This is Joy Reid. I want to play some videos back to back from MSNBC. This is of Joy Reid speaking of the cargo ship that bashed into the Francis Scott Key Bridge. And guys, I got to tell you something. You know, everybody, not everybody, but if you're on the right, you know it. Listen, we know that a lot of people, the left, are hiring a lot of people, putting people into positions they're not qualified to be in because of the color of their skin. And so I think it's a legitimate concern to ask and to wonder, hey, listen, what happened with this bridge? How is it that the power went out? You know, they floated right towards one of the columns that held the bridge steady. How is all of that possible? I mean, was it a cyber attack somehow that was able to shut down the systems? We don't know. We may never know. Was it somebody that was just sheerly incompetent? This vessel had another accident 8 years prior. So was it someone that was just someone that just wasn't safe? I mean, we really don't know. So cyber attack or some type of terrorist attack, just ineptness. Someone that's clearly incompetent, someone that was perhaps hired to work on that vessel or in the port as a result of DEI, not their qualifications, but the color of their skin? Well, I do have some new news for you that I want to share. But first, I want to see if you can stomach these videos of Joy Reid before we close it out on Fake Racism Friday. Let's go ahead and roll them one by one. I'll respond to each one, por favor, Gabe.
Shame on those people who want to make something out of this that isn't there. They have this boogeyman philosophy, and if it's black or brown, it's something that they've got a target on. Yeah. I just think that is just totally uncalled for at a time like this.
That was Maryland Congressman Kwesi Mfume last night on this very show, talking about the rampant conspiracies being hawked by the right about Tuesday's tragic bridge collapse in Baltimore. It has been a grab bag of right-wing grievances, barely coded racism, and flat-out lies.
Wow.
Noted Jewish space lasers and QAnon conspiracist Marjorie Taylor Greene suggested the disaster was the result of an intentional attack, perhaps by the space lasers.
All right, so barely coded racism and conspiracy theories. Listen, I'm not the only one to point this out. Matt Walsh pointed this out. How is it a conspiracy theory when people that were investigating or are investigating are trying to find out if it was indeed some type of attack, if indeed it was just somebody, part of the crew? We're not hearing anything about this stuff. We don't know. So what are we supposed to do except speculate? But what does the left do? They send out their attack dog. Because remember, you understand what the goal is. Listen, I don't think that Joy Reid is bright, but she knows the game. She knows her job. She's hired as an attack dog. She's hired to keep you away. Imagine this, metaphorically speaking. The story is behind the fence. Joy Reid is right at the fence. She's the attack dog. And she's there to keep you outside of that fence so that you don't get to the real story. That's all she's there for. Racism, 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 racism. And sadly, what's happened is people on the right are moderate Republicans or just weak Christians, sadly, or duped Christians or well-meaning Christians at times have just fallen for this. Oh, I don't want to be called a racist. And the left uses that to their advantage. And so what do? They just continue to advance their agenda, because what people don't want to know, or what the left doesn't want you to know, is this America is in danger as a result of Joe Biden in the White House. We right now, today, we are celebrating not just Good Friday. All right, we're celebrating the 1 year anniversary of Evan Gershowitz. I believe I pronounced his name correctly. The Wall Street Journal reporter that was taken in Russia and being held captive in Russia. Guys, you realize there's still American hostages in Israel as Joe Biden turns his back on Israel. The same thing that he did, frankly, to Americans in Afghanistan. Haiti was a different story. I don't know if it was because the hemisphere was close. I don't know if it's because of people like Representative Corey Mills and Governor Ron DeSantis had, air carriers of sorts, helicopters or flights, going in and out to save Americans, making him look bad, that he wanted to react to that. But this guy's a disaster, and everybody knows it. The world is on fire with Joe Biden in. So you send out the attack dog, and instead of getting the real story, you see, notice how she's not curious at all. I wonder what happened. I wonder what really. No. Protect the black people that have been put in charge in these cities, right? And protect the big dog, Joe Biden. That's Joy Reid's job. That's Joy Reid's job. That's what you need to understand. Next clip, por favor, Gabe.
But the most idiotic and racist theories had to do with their newest boogeyman, diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. A Republican congressional candidate in Florida tweeted that DEI did this. And a right-wing blue check account that's been boosted by Elon Musk in the past just blew straight past the dog whistling, tweeting to its 276,000 followers, quote, Baltimore's DEI mayor commenting on the collapsed Francis Scott Key Bridge. It's going to get so much worse. Prepare accordingly. The post included a clip of Baltimore's black mayor, Brandon Scott. I cannot believe I have to say this. Brandon Scott was elected with 70% of the vote in 2020 in a city that is 61% black. So by right-wing logic, a diversity hire would have been a white man, which of course is what they want. Only the white Christian men may have the things. And at this point, it's evident what they mean by DEI, right? Okay, it means black people. It's the reason the right complained about critical race theory. It's not fashionable to be openly racist anymore in America, unlike what they call the good old days. So referring to a black mayor as a DEI mayor gets the point across, right? So fellas, why not just say what you mean? You can't stand black people. We get it. You've been heard.
Oh, man. I feel like Joy Reid, if you could, Joy Reid, I think, is what black women would have wanted to say that actually experienced racism, because I'm not convinced that Joy Reid experienced it. I'm convinced that Joy Reid was taught that she had experienced racism as she elevated or continued to propel to the upper echelons of society in this racist society. She was literally hunted down virtually and given an affirmative action scholarship to go to Harvard or to one of these Ivy League schools. But racism, right? For Joy Reid. She is a lady that is not just out of touch. She's living in the wrong era, because again, these are the gripes that I would think that black women would have wanted to say in the 60s, in the 70s, you know what I'm saying, in the 50s, but they didn't want to say it. Joy Reid is saying all that now and pretending as if we are living in the 60s. No. And there is an issue with DEI. Hat tip to the Daily Wire. Less than a year before bridge fiasco, Maryland's Dem Gov put a DEI consultant on the state's port commission. Excuse me? Somebody is now in charge of the port that's a DEI hire? You dare say? Maryland Governor Wes Moore put a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant on the Maryland Port Commission just months before a container ship crashed into Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge. The supply chain on the East Coast and beyond now hangs in the balance as authorities will have to swiftly undertake complex feats of engineering to reopen the port and eventually the bridge. And if for those of you that have watched the news today, you have these floating cranes or a crane that is out in the harbor trying to remove pieces so other boats can pass through other ships. Moore named Corinthia Barber to the commission last August. The headline of the press release announcing the hire held her as the, quote, first black woman to serve as Maryland Port Commissioner. That's very important. Not whether or not she's qualified, right? All right. So her port commission bio says this. She is, quote, the founder and CEO of Professional Development Associates, LLC, a consulting practice that provides leadership and workforce training, coaching, and diversity, equity, and inclusion audits and consulting, close quote, and a volunteer for the Maryland Democratic Party. Guys, I'll say this. Black skin for the left is also a cover. Gabe, don't let me forget that I said that. Black skin for the left is also a cover. According to an interview with Barber, posted to the port website this January, according to the Daily Wire, part of her job was to bring her DEI expertise to the commission. This is what Barber had to say. In the words of our governor, I want to make sure the Maryland Port Authority, or MPA, is leaving no one behind, that we are broadening our impact, our revenue, but also expanding the net of inclusion, quote unquote. Barber did not return a request for comment from the Daily Wire on her qualifications. The Port Commission website says, quote, it establishes policies directed toward improving the competitive position of the Port of Baltimore within the international maritime industry. Commission meetings are held once a month and include a session open to the public. Members of the MPC, that is the Port Commission, Maryland Port Commission, are appointed by the governor. In the March 7th meeting, it included a safety program annual report. The three current commissioners who were appointed by past Republican governors have expertise in managing major transportation hubs of maritime ventures. They are Edward McDonald, who served as Chief of Staff of the Maryland Department of Transportation, David Richardson, the former Chief of Staff at the Maryland Aviation Administration, and Brenda Dandy, who co-founded a marine business. Moore, the state's first Black governor, appointed Barber and two other commissioners, Sandy Roberts, an attorney who has practiced civil rights and international transactions law. That's really important for maritime stuff, right? And operates an airport concessionaire business. And Scott Webb, a member of the International Longshoremen's Association labor union, who worked on the water after a cargo ship collided with the pier on the Scott Key Bridge, leading to the massive bridge collapse. Supply chains across America hang in the balance. Barber's website, kbmotivator.com. This is the lady that runs the Port Commission now. Lists her as a professional motivation speaker and pictures her hobnobbing with various Democrat politicians. It says Barber is, quote, recognized as an engaging, inspiring, and educational world-class speaker, close quote. Ms. Barber provides keynotes on a range of topics, including leadership, diversity, inclusion, and equity. All right. Generations at work and communications, close quote. Her bio said she served as the chair of the Board of Trustees of Maryland Automobile Insurance, and the website said she had done, quote, workshops and training sessions, quote, unquote. Still, for clients that included the U.S. Navy. That is workshops and training sessions on DEI. That's pretty impressive, but doesn't seem like that's a lady that you want to be leading up the Port Commission in Maryland. So maybe DEI played a part. We don't know. But it's okay to ask the question. It's okay to speculate. And that isn't racism. That's common sense. All right, last clip. Last clip of the racist Joy Reid that works at MSNBC. MSNBC pays her to be an attack dog and a professional racist. And she does do that job well, the professional racist part. She does it well. And so here is the last video. This is an interview with her of her giving an interview to the Baltimore mayor. Here's what he had to say about
I think, listen, I know, and we all know, and you know very well, that black men and young black men in particular have been the boogeyman for those who are racist and think that only straight, wealthy white men should have a say in anything. We've been the boogeyman from them since the first day they brought us to this country. And what they mean by DEI, in my opinion, is duly elected incumbent. We know what they want to say, but they don't have the courage to say the N-word. And the fact that I don't believe in their untruthful and wrong ideology, and I am very proud of my heritage and who I am and where I come from, scares them, because me being in my position means that their way of thinking, their way of life of being comfortable and suffering, and while everyone else suffers, is going to be at risk, and they should be afraid, because that's my purpose in life.
All right, so where does he come from, and what's his purpose in life? Where does this guy come from? Was he born somewhere in Africa? I must have missed that memo. His heritage? Aren't you an American? Aren't you an American, Mayor? You see that this is a problem. You're watching two people with power, two people with privilege sit there and pretend like they're victims. And Joy Reid just explained earlier that listen, it can't be a DEI hire whomever when she was talking about the mayor, whomever she was talking about earlier, because the overwhelming amount of voters in Baltimore area or Maryland are black. So who's out to get them? White people, white Christians. Who's out to get this guy? Guys, these are people that have been told America is racist, and they've been trained to look at things through a racial lens, things that don't even exist, like macroaggressions. If Joy Reid and if this mayor would focus their energy on just helping the people of Baltimore, what they would do, regardless of who's on the port commission, regardless of who was on the ship, they would report the facts so that his constituents are informed. That's his job, not to sit on there on TV and play the victim. His job is to help his constituents. Instead, this guy that has power, that's been duly elected, is sitting there pretending like some white person wants to call him the N-word. What white person? See, they're the ones creating the boogeyman. So there you go. Fake Racism Friday. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast, this special Good Friday edition. The good news is Jesus Christ has risen. I hope you are able to get to a service this weekend. The death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ is what we believe in. It's what I believe in, as a Christian, and I believe as all Christians do, that I've been saved by the wrath of God. And the only reason why, I could never atone for my sins. I'm too evil, too wicked of a person. So I could never atone for my sins. God is too holy for me to make it to heaven. So what I believe is that Jesus took the suffering. Jesus took the punishment that I should have gotten. And as a result of that, I get to have a seat in heaven. And that's pretty freaking amazing. So I'm going to clock out on that note before I tear up. I'm thankful for his forgiveness, because, man, I don't always deserve it. Actually, I don't deserve it. Let's just be real. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Again, until next time, do not grow weary doing good. Make sure you get to a church service this weekend. Adios. You see that, Gabe? I'm practicing my Spanish. Adios. All right. Until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.